Hi, it's Gary. Welcome to today's video. Today, ink comparison day. Thought we'll look at some green inks. The first one is by Robert Oster and it's Ryde Green. Not sure if you can see that there, the name on the top, Ryde Green. Australian made ink. That's going to go up against Pilot Iroshizuku Shin Ryoku. The first bottle of ink that I bought when I got back into fountain pens. I thought it'd be an interesting comparison. They're both greenish coloured inks. So join me now down on the table. We'll take a look at the inks, look at the swatches, chromatography. We'll do a writed sample. Then I'll give you my thoughts on each of these inks. Welcome down to the table. So here's our two inks. We've got Robert Oster Ryde Green. This is a 50ml bottle. So there we go, 50 millilitres. That costs $24.60 and that works out at 49 cents per millilitre. We're going up Pilot Iroshizuku Shin Ryoku. Again, it's a 50ml bottle, costs 35 Aussie dollars, works out 70 cents per millilitre. I like the bottles, but both in different ways. I like the fact this is easy. I've got my ink stand here. This is an old ink pot, so it stands in there quite nicely, stops it from falling over. It's plastic, easy to get rid of, nice lightweight. But I do also like the Shin Ryoku bottles. They're glass, they're heavy. They've got this dip in the middle, so as the ink level's getting low, you can still get your nib in there. Let me turn this a little bit. I can see when it was pointing towards me. There you are, I can see now pointing towards you. But they're heavy. They're not going to fall over easy. If you want to recycle them though, it's glass, going to make it a bit difficult. You know, I'm just thinking about the old reuse, recycle type mantra. But yeah, both very nice. If we look at the swatch cards, so we've got Robert Oster Ryde Green at the top and Shin Ryoku at the bottom. The Ryde Green, a lot brighter ink, more of a fresh grass type colour, whereas the Iroshizuku Shin Ryoku, that reminds me more of seeing fields of established grass where the grass is a bit longer. I know, a little bit difficult to describe, but slightly darker ink there with the Shin Ryoku. Turn over, we'll look at the chromatography. Two very different chromatographies here. So we've got the Robert Oster on the left. So we're starting off, and we're going straight into some like watery bright greens. As we go up, we get into that really bright yellowy type green. Hints of yellow there. Then as we go up a little bit further, we start to see blues. And then at the top, there's like a really dark fringe of blue there. But with the Shin Ryoku, we start off with this gorgeous pale blue. So we're going up, sticking with blue. Goes a little bit darker. And then we start to see hints of green coming in. We get near the top. We get into a green layer. And then this really, really bright yellow colour. Really nice. I don't really know what the chromatography tells you. I just think they look nice and pretty. But that isn't what's important. What's important is how they write. So I'm going to fetch in my notepad of testing. This is a Oxford Optic paper, 90 GSM paper. My tool of testing is my Serendipity dip pen. There we go. And we're going to start with Robert Oster Ryde Green. So my process is I dip the nib, give it a good drink, shake it off in the bottle, scribble a little bit on some scrap paper, then I come straight over here. So we've got a Serendipity dip pen. Serendipity dip pen. And it's got a broad Yoho nib. Robert Oster Ryde Green. My sentence. And then scribbling. I do like this pen and ink. It's a nice bright green, it's going down, it's not like it's clinging to the nib, it wants to get onto the paper, it wants to write. Seeing bits of shading coming through as well. Really interesting. I'm going to step away now, give the nib a clean, then I'll come back for the Shin Ryoku. So the pen's had a good clean. What I do when I clean it is I pull out the nib and feed, then I clean the whole unit under cold running water. I make sure it's cold and not hot. I also run the water into this inset to get that clean as well. I then dry everything on a kitchen roll and then reassemble it. So we're ready to go. Now we're ready to go with Shin Ryoku. So the exact same process. It goes into the ink, has a good old drink, scribble off on my scrap paper, then I come over to write. So we've got a Serendipity, dip pen, broad nib, pilot, Iroshizuku, hopefully I pronounced that right, Shin Ryoku. Our sentence, and our scribble. Again, very nice writing ink, flows really well. I do find that this ink, if I've got a problem with a pen, so if I've got issues with it, with ink flow, I tend to reach for this or my other Iroshizuku ink, which is Momiji. I just find they're nice inks, they've got a nice lubrication, they're good inks to test pens with. Let's move this to the side. Just dropping in to interrupt your regular programming. Would you like to help support the channel? If so, please consider joining as a member. As a member, you'll get early access to my videos. I normally upload them a couple of days before they go out, and as soon as they're uploaded, they'll be released to members. There'll also be a shout out at the end of the videos, and then as we get the members coming in, we'll actually chat among ourselves and work out what other perks, what other things you'd like me to add in. You know, would you like maybe a monthly live chat just for members? All down to us. So please, if you can, consider joining the channel. A link will be in the description down below. Give it a little bit of time to dry. Whilst it's drying, we're going to take a look at some writing samples I did earlier using this. This is a Moonman pen, or Mahjong pen, the M800. Doesn't have the Mahjong nib though, it's got a broad goulet nib on it. So we'll start with the Ryde green. Apologies, I did smudge it a little bit when I was doing this writing test. This is a Galen leather notebook. It's 52 GSM Tomoe River paper. So it's a nice consistent paper. As you can see here, very nice. Don't see a lot of shading. Don't expect to see a lot of shading in either of these inks. Really nice. It's very wet, as you can see down here where I do my wetness tests. As a combo with that Mahjong pen, extremely wet. They work well together. Nice, I say nice green colour. Jump backwards in time. This is to where I did with the Mahjong, or Moonman as it was called then. Let's get, can we get, there we go. The M800 again with the goulet broad, this time Shin Ryoku. On here, and to be honest, we'll see in a minute when it's dry, this looks like it's got more blue in it. So we saw in that chromatography more of that blue colour. And you can see it as it's dried here. See a lot more blue. I do see a bit of shading coming through in here. So we're getting a little bit of interest in the writing by having that natural shading. It's not a lot, but there is a little bit. Here I'm saying about a lot of it being...
I don't have an answer for that.
Poor old Siri. So here again, see the nib nice and smooth. Writes really well. At the bottom, doesn't seem to be as wet a combo as what we saw with that Ryde green. I don't bother doing my drying tests anymore because of using the dip pen. There's too many factors to, how I dipped it, how much ink was brought up. Just too many factors to have a consistent test. If I can try and get this, there we go. So we can see half of each page roughly. See a very big difference in colour. Definitely a more greener ink with that Ryde green. And you see here how it's more blue leaning with the Shin Ryoku. Let's move this back out of the way. And we'll fetch back in that optic paper. So on the optic paper, I've got to be honest, that doesn't look as blue. It looks more of the green. I'm just going to fetch in the Tomoe River. You see there, this is the difference I think between using a dip pen and using an actual fountain pen. Got a lot more ink on the pen after it's been freshly dipped. That's why it goes down thicker and a lot greener for the Shin Ryoku. But I find in my actual writing it does go more for this slightly bluer version. I'm not sure which I prefer of these. I like the brightness of the Ryde green. I love green colours, so I really like the brightness of it. You know, it's cheery, and you know, as I'm recording this, we're still in summer, so you don't actually see a lot of green around because it's so hot. Everything's brown, so it's nice to see this hint of this bright, fresh grass type of green. Whereas when I'm looking here at the Serendipity dip pen with the Shin Ryoku, again, reminds me more of spring, late spring, after we've had some rain, after the grass has had time to have a good old drink and really start to get some colour back. And we start seeing these different greens, and that's where I see this, and it reminds me a lot of that. It's a bit like maybe even a eucalyptus type green, what I see in the leaves of eucalyptus trees, where they tend to have that bit more of a blue colour to my eye. So they're my thoughts on Robert Oster Ryde Green and Pilot Iroshizuku Shin Ryoku. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. What are your experiences with these inks? Are they ones that you've got? Are they ones you intend to get? What other green inks do you think I should look at? At the moment, I'm on an ink buying freeze, so not likely to buy any inks for a while, but I'm building a list so that once I can get inks again, I can start getting some. Please drop any comments down below. Let's kickstart the conversation. Please hit the thumbs up button. Every time you like, every time you comment, just helps with the YouTube algorithm. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel so that you can get new videos as I release them. I'll talk to you again soon.